Welcome to Fact or Freestyle.
People love Dave Nourie, and they always answer the phone when he calls. When we get him on Zoom, we ask him to confirm rumors.
Let's see how far down the rabbit hole we go.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Joe Sickman. I really like how, we should talk about this right out of the gate. I really liked how when Dylan Osborne said to you, oh, so it's Sickman, right? I have the pronunciation right? And you simply said, well, I've just come to terms with it.
We're just gonna go with that.
Dave Nourie has just kind of relentlessly introduced me every single time, and now I just have to own it.
Live by the prank. Oh, live by the prank.
Mission accomplished. I did it. My work was done. When I saw that, I'm like, okay, my work is done.
Successful rebranding. I'm good. My whiplash technique is coming back.
Is it?
It had. There were a combination of reasons why I lost it. But I think I was overriding. So I do those 10 sets of 10.
Yeah.
And Marty did in fact tell me to take a breather in between. But over the past couple of weeks, I decided I'm just going to plow straight through it because I wanted to work on my endurance. Well, I kind of leveled up endurance, except for those tiny balance muscles that you really need to be attentive all the time. Those were shutting down. And so today I took a breather in between sets. And
what's a breather? Like, what does that look like? A minute or two, or what is it?
So I have this thing where I will do like a proper full squat, stand up, 4 steps, proper squat, and I'll do a lap around the Terradome. And I do that instead of setting a timer, because if I have a timer on my phone, it's very tempting for me to start fucking about. And today I made that meme. Today during a breather, I got that idea. Like, I went to check my phone. I found that mind-blowing fact. Like, did you know that Snoop and Cameron Diaz went to the same high school? And I was like, oh man, I'm going to turn this into did you know Joe Sisman flew to Woodward West just to overgrip Bob Haro?
Right.
So that stuff will happen when I'm in that creative
I understand
space.
your breather is doing these little walk and squat exercises. That's your breather. Did Marty say that? Because it seems like a breather would be you sit down, you have a drink, and you just relax for a minute or two.
It sure would. So that's what I tested as my breather. I can squat like
So you're an over squatter. Wait, you're an over squatter. You're an overrider. You're an over timer. What's the timing situation going on? I don't understand what the timing is. You do a timer, then you start to do other things because you're like, oh, I just got a timer on it. So
if I touch my phone to set a break time for 2 minutes, it will go long because I will fall into my phone. So I was intentionally doing something that I figured, I just did the little math in my head that if I focused on a discrete, like if I did a certain number of cycles, then it probably would result in a certain amount of time. But it allowed me to, it was super simple. It allowed me to remain entirely focused only on that motion and not any numbers.
Great. So welcome to Fact or Freestyle and the life of Joe Sickman. The life and the challenges of Joe Sickman. So
it's endless.
You have now been to Woodward West at an old school reunion.
Yes.
How was it? Just give me 3 words. What 3 words would you say to describe that experience?
What is the German word for it felt like home?
I don't know.
Well, that will be one word. The Germans have lots of words.
That
That would
covers
be
a
my
lot.
one word. Yeah. Second was, it was not about hardcore competitive riding.
Yeah.
It was, that slant wreaked havoc with rollers like me, but I didn't give a shit. And then I also had my hub break. And then let's see, the third word. There was a lot of factOrFreestyle that came full circle back to me during that.
That was so cool.
And I
right?
was like, wow, that was so much fun.
Like the mouth pose, people would say mouth posing, or I mean the overgrip. That's a whole other segment we'll get into later. But many different, whispers that were created that came back around.
My favorite part, if I were to list one part of the weekend, the Bob thing aside, was when I was walking out of the reception and Ron stopped his pool game to say, "Hey, are you tech guy? You look like tech guy. Are you tech guy?" And then we got to talking and I was like, I really think Dave should do the naked Gumby. And he's like, he loved the naked Gumby thing. So then the next day I saw him again and he goes, tech guy, tech guy. I talked to Dave about the naked Gumby and started laughing. And then I walked over to you and you said, Ron's been texting me all the morning about the naked Gumby, and he sat down next to me at the bar and pushed me on the naked Gumby for hours.
Oh, he was like, dude, there's no better place to do it. You got to do it here. This is perfect. I'm like, what is the point of doing a naked Gumby? It's just not in the cards for me. Sorry, Ron. So I have to figure out somehow to fulfill his need, because I'm not doing the naked Gumby, but something that, I don't know, I put a naked suit on.
I thought of how to do this.
Yeah.
Get a bodysuit, and shoot it at dusk to get a silhouette. And then we'll make the t-shirts.
Don't make the naked Gumby t-shirts.
Naked Gumby t-shirt of the silhouette.
What about this?
That yellow background.
Get a bodysuit and do it at a club setting. And it's like a strobe light. And the strobe light just goes on like really slow, so that you just get a little, and you have to look and like, wait, is he really, they can't tell if I'm wearing a bodysuit or not. I don't know. Yes. It's only for Ron. I guess Ron and now you, because nobody else really cares. Okay, on to other exciting topics, Joe. Okay. This show is, fast paced, unlike other shows that we listen to. And we want to keep on topic. So 3 words you came up with, great. So I'm glad you made it. It was awesome that you were able to experience that, because you can't really describe it, right? I mean, here we are doing a little short, show about it, but it's hard. I mean, I'm just wanting to encourage people to go if they have any inclination and they've never been, that they should figure out how to go. And now it's easier than ever.
Yes. I believe the best way to communicate what it was like was to tell anecdotes and stories from that event.
Yeah. Okay. So let me tell you one that I loved. When you described me stressing out about trying to get everything organized for the jam, and me just going around talking to everyone, handing out I had the whole, my whole like idea of like, okay, we're not going to just do class. We're going to do like novice and pro. We're just going to take it completely in a different direction. And I just kind of came up with that, where it's you have to refresh my memory. It's the hot shots, cool shots, and never miss your shot. Never miss your shot. And the never miss your shot can be interpreted in lots of different ways. Because I think of it, when I first thought of never miss your shot, it's like, those are the people that kind of sit and they just need a little extra encouragement to say, hey, this is your chance to go for it. And there's a lot of things that I'll do differently next time. So it was a very good learning experience. But I want to keep that category because it was so good to get people to think outside. Wait, they say, so what's the beginning class? I go, well, they're all beginners. You could be a beginner in any of these classes. You could be a hot shot beginner. You could be a hot shot cool rider, or never miss your shot. And then I like your interpretation of James, because he always snake. James McGraw would always snake rider, so he's never going to miss a shot, right? That's another way of looking at it. There's multiple layers of looking at that. So that was fun. And I liked how you described my level of stress that I carry trying to orchestrate this. Oh, I had this picture in my mind that I wanted to, and it completely went out the window. It was so, I was a little bit frustrated halfway through the jam. But
you were frustrated because every 15 minutes James announced we only have 30 minutes left in this class.
That was one of the frustrations. The other one is that, so like I wanted to be, and the best example was, now we're jumping around a little bit, but people will follow it as they listen to this whole cast. When Bob sat down with John Hova to talk about Bob's story a little bit at the ceremony, right? At the reception. That was, okay, sit down, have a drink, chat, people are just listening, maybe throwing out questions. And that was more like just a closer kind of gathering. And I just didn't want it to be like this jam where it's just like yelling, ooh, yeah, ooh, like every other BMX show and event has covered. I wanted to be, especially for those kids that were like really into it, those young, 10, 11-year-old riders that were really into looking at doing freestyle without obstacles. Some people call it flatland, but freestyle, obstacle-free freestyle, right?
Oppo-obstacle freestyle.
Oppo-obstacle. Wait, say that again?
Oppo-obstacle freestyle.
Yeah, that. And how it could just be a little bit more like talking like, hey, this is Dave Nourie, and he's he comes here, he does this kind of tricks, and he's really known for this. And here's Joe Sickman. Yeah, some people call him Sisman, but make sure it's Sickman. And he does a lot of the crazy rolling tricks, knows how much. And like, so next time, what I'm going to do, whoever it is that the announcer, because Danny Hubbard's great, and I loved how he was like kicking himself, because I told him, I said, don't come out there and go, yeah, and then he did it. And he's like, man, that's the first thing I did. I go back to my default mode. And so I'll plan that out better. And we'll actually have, when you enter this jam, it's not so much about a fee, but you do have to fill out this form, and you have to fill out a little bio. And we're going to like have those filled out and then say, no, you need to we actually will coach them on like, say something crazy about yourself or whatever, so that there's good talking points, because that makes good content that keeps things flowing. And then I think the classes will just be, I don't know, we'll have to figure out the length of the classes. I gave half an hour, but there's just not enough riders that showed up.
Well, you never miss your shot. There were a couple, but then there was another kid that kept joining and snaking me. And I was like, he is actually not missing his shot. It took me a little while to wrap my head around it. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Oh, right.
Do I respectfully ask this dude to chill, or is this actually part of it?
That's his, I mean, that's his, like you said, when you were on that interview, that it's based on
temperament,
the rider's personality and persona, right?
Yes.
And it's so good to have people think, I'm like, don't have enough light on me, huh? So I just look like a
If
shadow.
you scoot back a little bit, you'll get the light from above.
I moved my desk, so I got a whole different situation here. But anyhow.
You turned it 90 degrees, yeah.
So what else? Yeah, so that was fun when you described how much you're enjoying my level of stress. and I get that way, Joe, because I'm just like, I want to offer something different. I want to be whatever, creative. Anyhow.
You never swear when you're stressed. So
No.
there was this one time you were driving out to Scotty's house, and we were talking, and you like you almost missed your exit, and I couldn't tell if you were fake stressing, because you said
No,
all
I
of the
was.
things that someone would say as if they were stressed, but you didn't have legitimate stress in your voice. Like when I stress, I swear, I get mean look on my face. I'm like, I'm
Right.
gonna punch through this, and you're
So
just like,
compare that.
oh
compare
no,
that.
no, wait.
I know what you're talking about, because we were on the phone with Mark Eaton, and we were talking about getting you on the plywood hoods, or getting
Yes.
you off the plywood hoods, or whatever.
No, it was on. That was when I was rehearsing the case that I would make to Brett.
To Brett, to do your 4 foot air. Yeah. So compare that level of stress when you heard that compared to when I was at the contest, because I think that they were two totally different.
You kept walking around saying, this is chaotic. They're not doing what I need them to do. This is why is James keep giving them more time? And I was like, one, if you give a mic to James McGraw, just flush it all
I know,
away.
exactly.
He told me he told me that he was at a wedding for a dude he works with.
Oh God.
And this dude also, he's like one of the roadie guys for Insane Clown Posse.
Uh-huh.
So he had his whole crew there, and his crew was saying, your boss is insane, talking about James. So the crew of the Insane Clown Posse was telling this dude that James was insane. James was walking around at that wedding with a mic, and he walks up to this other dude he knows who has cancer, and he says, ladies, you should pity screw this guy because he has cancer.
You're kidding me.
No, he just told me that. And I'm like, what? He's like, so then James goes, it's the good kind of cancer. He's like, he's gonna be fine. I'm like,
well,
what?
It's still cancer. And yeah, I think with James, so the next jam that we host, James just doesn't get a mic. He can say whatever he wants because he doesn't need a mic.
There will be, so the winner or the objective is to not let James have the mic. And so we have to find a way of awarding points for people who hold the mic from James or don't let him get a hold of it.
Here's the thing, because James is going to watch this, so we have to send a strong message to this.
He'll forget it.
James will watch it, and he'll understand that I have the utmost respect for him and everything that he's bringing.
So do I.
Absolutely love everything that he's doing. And this is the
drop
sandwich.
A bowling ball in your lap. That's when James. If you give James a microphone, you have dropped a bowling ball in your lap.
Well, so I'm saying I don't want to remove him completely from the element because he's part of the whole. But I'm just saying, just don't give him a mic. He can say whatever he wants. He's just
let him go find his own mic. Let him scream at the top of his lungs.
No, I don't think he needs to find his own mic. Yeah. So James, if you're listening, when you're watching this, just know that we love you, and we just are. We just, I guess I'll speak for myself. I just had these ideas of another format that's, I don't know,
less chaotic.
Just a little, yeah, it's not only less chaotic. I want it to be so that, not so much the parents. I don't care about the parents and what they think of our jam. It's whatever. It's that 10 to 12-year-old kid that's watching, that's got that spark. You taught them a little foot jam variation and how to pull it, and they're excited that that I guess that it's a comfortable enough place to kind of bring them in. You know what I mean? And that there's not such a separation, like how to fit into that crew. Kind of how we started this whole show, right? We want to make it so that it's available. People watch it and they can have little insight on some of these conversations that maybe they wouldn't be able to sit at that table because they weren't at the event, or they weren't, they didn't know those writers. So we bring on people that we have, close contact with to open up the conversation. So
Or because maybe they were.
I'm only extending it. It's kind of all from the same place. And James has got his right place in all of that. So I would never exclude him. I just want to tone him down. So.
You're at an 8. I need you at about a 2.
Yeah, 2.5. We're good. Yeah. Okay, so onward and upward. So what else? How was your dirt riding, park riding? Did you cover all of Woodward? Was this like a whole Disneyland
well,
there?
I was pushing my bike around because my free coaster tragically failed.
We had to have helmets on if we were anywhere else but the Flatland area, is what I was told.
Yeah, so I did not bring my park bike. I did not mess around with any ramps. If I had, I probably would have wanted, coaching. I would have tried to get video of me getting on to the plywood hoods, and so
you needed a 4-foot
I decided
air,
to control. I decided that I would control myself there and only ride flat.
Can you share some pictures from? So I think that would make some good content. So some stuff so let's get into the Bob. So, I mean, you orchestrated. I know you had a plan when you left Ohio, and you're thinking, okay, my #1 achievement for this weekend is to meet Bob Haro, but not just me.
Yeah, so I had several people. So I had rehearsed this with John, and it was going well. John and I had just practiced, and then this happened.
How are you feeling? Wait, how are you feeling right now? Let's just look at your face right now. Yeah, so you look like you're not. You're excited. You're a bit nervous. That uncertainty you have.
And then look who shows up. So then Chad shows up, and John's out of the picture because John walks in with Chad. So now I'm 1 down. Okay. And that was a little bit rough. By the way, could you hear any of the?
No, I didn't hear the audio.
Okay.
So when you're in the plane and you're flying over, like what kind of things are going through? You're probably practicing your routine for the jam, right? In your head? No, you're thinking about how I'm going to film and capture this moment with Bob Haro. I know that's what you're thinking about. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. I knew that I had to get support from people. And so I began DMing guys, asking for assistance, either air cover or like role play rehearsal partners.
Yeah, so you said, so Pete Augustine, so play that out for us. So how'd that go? So, hey, Pete, because Pete knows you. Now he met you through the show.
So at where was it? I think he, like that earlier in the day on Friday, he was it? Well, anyway, I think I met him next to you. We quickly shook hands. I gripped, and then he was like, And then we ungripped, and then he snatched back in. Like I wasn't ready for it. He like gripped. He swooped in.
He did a regrip. Did he do an over regrip?
He did. It was a stalemate, and then when we broke, he went back in and totally got me.
He did an over regrip. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So then later that night at the restaurant, I was walking in with Joellen, right?
Yeah.
And she saw Pete, and they went in. Now I knew when I was walking side by side with her and I saw Pete, I was like, she's gonna say hi to Pete, and I'm gonna dive in.
They're very close. I know, the kids come over to her house sometimes, and Lisa and my mom hang out. Okay, so And so
And
what
so
happened?
when they went in, I swept in and I got him. And it jarred him because he was like, what do I do? But I got him. But I came in hot, top down. And then Joe Ellen and I discussed my strategy after I had executed it. And then it was at the reception. Is everything okay?
It's either a woodpecker or somebody's building something up there. Okay, go ahead.
So then at the reception, we probably had a couple of beers, and Pete walks up, and I go again, and I'm holding it, and I'm holding it, and I go, and I'm holding it, and he gets this look in his eye, and I go, "You're causing a scene," and he goes, "No, you're causing a scene," and we just we held it. So then I was like, you know what? There was a stalemate.
Another one.
It was another one.
Stalemated now. You did two
so then I was like, well, I got to get an element of surprise. I got to go top down. And then that is what ultimately led the next day to the rehearsal I had with Eddie Fiola, which we can play now.
Before you go to Eddie, though, didn't you bring Pete in as a coach then? Didn't you get some coaching tips?
Yeah, I did. I did. I did, in fact, ask him about it. And basically he was like, you gotta surprise him. He's gotta not know it. You gotta go in hot. And I was like, well, I mean, does it really count? And that's why I tried to intervene between Joellen and Pete, because I was like, well, maybe I just got to jump in. But there's a social contract when two people are heading for gripping, and if somebody swoops in, I don't know that counts. That's a little bit like a sucker punch, like a sucker grip.
Yeah.
I knew it was a technique that I knew that I could get it, but I thought, if I've got one shot, do I want to get DQ'd on a technicality?
Can I ask a factOrFreestyle? So factOrFreestyle, Joe, you actually have a spreadsheet that you've developed on this whole overgripping that you've been tabulating all along, and there's marked points, and you've now put in all these experiences. Is that factOrFreestyle? There's a spreadsheet.
Fact, Marty has me doing 100 sets a day, or 100 repetitions a day, and so I set up a little dummy in the Terradome, and I worked on it. In fact, we're about to take a look at the technique.
Okay, so let's go. Okay.
Yeah. So what I had to do was, it's hard to just, you can do it by sight, but if you're trying to also have eye contact, what I did was I used this finger to land here and then follow along the knuckles. And so that's how I got physical feedback that I was on the right trajectory to get here. And this is what we're seeing with Eddie.
Okay, so Eddie's totally because Eddie's a great coach, right? He's going to really get.
Yeah. And see, we did it slow motion. And he's like, you got to get the knuckles, you got to pop the knuckle up. So then it was set.
Okay, yeah. So now you're ready. Now you've got Fiola, you got Pete, you got John Bolgens, you got everybody. I don't even know all this is going on till the very last minute. And I'm sure glad that someone got wind, because you didn't tell me. I got wind, somebody said so-and-so, something about an overgrip, and I'm like, oh, Joe's probably gonna go meet Bob. So then I came over and was there.
And you gave some air cover. Role. Yeah. So we threw in the towel on John Bolgens, and Eddie was like, come on. And so the strategy here was, Bob had a line of people, James had a camera, I was the only one that Bob would not have recognized. And so Bob is like, oh, this guy is friends with some of them. Let me meet the fans. Let this fan kiss the ring. And so Eddie did a really good job. Bob saw him and said, hey, there's a, I gave a stack of these posters to you. Then Eddie was like, looks at me and says, hey, have you seen this poster? And so that's what got me in. And then he goes, and have you met Bob? And pow. Now Bob, yeah. And that's then when you realize what's going on and broke it up. Now, the best part of this is right here is when Bob looks down to survey the damage, and I'm giving that look like that meme of that little girl smiling in front of a house fire. And there's only like
that
3 frames.
Can we put that on a t-shirt? Can we please put that on a t-shirt?
Yes.
That look of your face and Bob's, like, huh? And it's like, I think the t-shirt should say something like, there's more to life than being an overgripper. Because yes, it's great that expression on your face, but I think you've overgripped this situation in so many ways.
I absolutely did.
Okay, so continue.
Yeah. So then James is like, hey, is he an overgripper? And I'm like, you should ask him about me. And then he turns off the camera. Now, what I was hoping James had captured, but we can go over it here.
But that's actually good that it wasn't, because then that kind of gives a little bit, this is the story behind this is the true origin of overgripping. Maybe
so I'll tell you where I got my motivation from. It wasn't from being the overgripper. However, I knew that that's what it would take to get at the origin story. I was convinced that there was an origin story to the overgripping. Now,
right? Because can I interrupt you? So, because
yes.
If you would have just met Bob and you would have shook his hand and said, "Hey, I'm Joe Sickman. We've been doing this thing on factOrFreestyle overgripping. Been asking all these people, and there's rumor has it. Dave mentioned it, and then Pete chimed in, and yada yada yada. And which we already had some of that when we met him when we were there. Sean White,
the Haro show.
At the Haro show. So, but that we didn't get behind it. So you knew that you needed to really have some kind of either a stalemate or really show your dominance in an overgripping technique.
I wouldn't say it was dominance. It was the Tony Robbins technique of immediately changing his state. And so it was funny, and I figured he would have to add something to that to keep the laugh going. Now,
well, and another thing, I want to interrupt you again, because you're also, you got him anywhere else at the event, it wouldn't have been the same. He's there with all of his product, and it's like I'm looking at his hats, and Eddie's talking about the posters. He's displaying all his stuff. So you got him in the best possible place to become, vulnerable or, potentially open to something new. Because, if it would have just been at the maybe the reception or when we were just out riding, it wouldn't have the same, I think, emphasis because of where he was at.
That's right. There was definitely an audience. There was a vibe, and a couple
and he's
days.
Representing. This is his work. This is you came to him in his terror dome. Basically, that's his space right now. He's not out there riding, the ramps or Flatland. he's presenting his beautiful art and all his wonderful products, which I actually bought. This is one of the hats I bought there that I have on right now in support.
Yes, I walked into Bob's house.
Yeah.
And now, what could possibly be better? Well, Bill Batchelor was right behind Bob, unbeknownst to any of us. And
that
this
sneaky
is
devil.
and this is the after handshake. After the overgrip, and we laughed, we fist bumped, and we did that, and we went in for like a proper.
And that's when he said, "Oh, okay, you're Joe Sickman," and we kind of said, we've been asking people about overgripping. We like rehashed the story. Okay, so then go back to the story, the origin of the overgrip, because it was a sales guy.
So I was convinced that, there was like this magical insight of overgripping was given to Bob at some point. I was convinced. And I got some clues, because at the Haro show, he said, no. You were like, Bob, you overgripped me. He's like, no. And then you said, Pete also said this. And then Bob said, well, I used to.
Exactly. I remember that. Yeah.
So that's what's known as a 3-dog defense. And I knew that it went deeper. Have you heard of the 3-dog defense? I think I talked about it on the show once.
Maybe, but I refresh my memory.
You will actually see politicians using this. So the way to tee this up is a dog bites a kid, and they go to court, and they said that, hey, your dog bit this kid. And the guy goes, I don't even have a dog. And then someone submits evidence that he has a dog, and he goes, well, if I have a dog, he doesn't bite. And then they show evidence of the dog biting someone. And he goes, well, if I had a dog and he bit, then you were okay. And so I noticed this progression of Bob's denial of the overgripping. And I knew that there was one more stage.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Right. He said, I used to be an overgripper. And I'm like, well, what started that and what petered it out? So then, we get into it, and then he says, a sales guy, when he was 19, Kevin something or other, Bob looked up to him, and they shook hands, and he gave him a really firm handshake.
Big guy. He said he was a big guy too, right?
He says a big guy. Right. And he looks at Bob, and he says, did your mom raise any men? And Bob was 19 at the time, and
he was being overgripped.
And he was being overgripped, and he interpreted that as, look, here's this successful guy, I got to get my grip on. And being 19 kind of overdid it, but he was absolutely convinced that that was the way to be successful. Now, we also on this show discussed the butterfly effect. And there is a case to be made that this salesperson who overgripped Bob Haro was in fact the origin of all of freestyle. Right. Because that gave Bob the confidence to pursue this dream, which frankly, if you're going from, hey, here's a bike, to I'm going to do tricks on a bike, and I'm going to create a sport that ultimately will be in the Olympics, that takes chutzpah. And prior to shaking hands with that sales guy, Bob didn't have the chutzpah, but he got it, and he over chutzpahed. And that's why we have this thing in our lives that has meant so much. So if there is a father of freestyle, there is an argument to be made that it is Big Kevin, the overgripper.
Because he challenged Bob, the grandfather of freestyle, in a father-like way. Does your mom raise men? Right?
Yeah.
So what's another good analogy that, because he also could be, he's like the wise one, and he's not going to say to Bob, hey, you need to have more confidence. You need to be more assertive. He's just gonna hit, directly at home by questioning this manhood, his manhood.
A very good salesperson knows precisely what to say to get someone to the next step.
That's interesting that you brought that up, because a good salesperson will ask a question without sounding like it's a question, in order to get them in. Because if you just go through and you're just asking questions, then people will put their defenses up. So I'm sure the way that he delivered that question too was very artful. So this is interesting. So do you think we can finally let this rest, or it sounds like this is like a whole nother segment? A whole nother segue that's going to go to.
I gotta remember this guy's last name.
I know,
and I gotta find out
it again.
Kevin D something. Anyway, I think this guy. Let's see. Bob's probably 50. Bob's probably getting around 60. This guy may or may not still be with us, but it's super important. And
do you remember
his
what
family
was?
I don't. You should text Bob right now and get the deets. I think
that
you doubt that Bob will respond.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's not on his phone.
Fine. Well, maybe what we'll do is we'll publish this like right after we finish shooting, and we will goad Bob Haro into revealing Kevin's last name and the company that he was with. I believe
so. Maybe
that Kevin's family. I believe Kevin's family will consider this quite a wonderful part of their family legacy.
Yeah. So the story needs to be told and needs to be recognized. We need to put this.
It needs to be brought back to his family. This is an important
and
chapter.
Maybe this guy Kevin can be like, come to next year's old school reunion, and he can be presented a plaque for all his contribution to
he should get the plaque for outstanding contribution to the sport, because there is an argument to be made.
Thank him when he got did Bob, because Bob thanked people, did he thank Kevin?
Bob thanked a lot of people. I don't know that Bob thanked Big Kevin.
I don't think. Are we just going to call him Big Kevin the salesman?
Until we get his last name, he's Big Kevin.
Okay. All right. Great. I think, are you complete with this, Joe, for a little while? Because
I got more. I got more of other stuff, and I got more of this. But we can move on to the next thing that was memorable from. Oh, I will tell you one thing that was tremendously memorable from last weekend.
Okay.
I had heard Troy McMurray stories from James. Now, there was a period of time from 1994 until 2002 where I didn't ride. 8 years.
Yeah.
A lot happened in those 8 years. And when I got back into it in 2002, it took me another 6 or 7 years to even meet anybody who rode.
Right.
Okay. I didn't meet guys until 2008. So 2008 or 2009, I forget which one it was.
You're telling a Troy story. Get back to Troy.
Okay, so I missed all of the Troy McMurray glory days. James would tell this story about an S&M t-shirt that just simply read, "I smoked out with Troy McMurray." Troy McMurray was wearing that shirt this weekend.
He was wearing that.
It was so funny to watch Troy McMurray wearing that I smoked out with Troy McMurray S&M shirt.
We have to have Troy on the show. We haven't had him on the show yet, have we?
No, we haven't. He's quite a character.
I think we might have invited, I think we tried to, and he was busy or something, but we have to get him on the show. Should we try right now just to see if he can just chime in?
I don't know.
Are we ready for Troy?
No one is ever ready for Troy. We should have Troy and Terry Adams, because there was this story.
What? Wait, before you go there, hold that story for a second. I just had to tell you something about, hold it, because that sounds like a whole great thing. And I agree, maybe we should have them together. But one of the coolest things that I witnessed over the weekend with Troy was, this was after the jam, after we gave out all the cash prizes to the various different radness and the Raditude. And somebody came up to Troy and the conversation went something like this. Hey, Troy, good to see you. Glad to see you riding. He's like, yeah, I can't believe it, man. Life is so good. So I just did a whiplash and I just won $100. And I'm so stoked. And like, that's Troy, like always. He's always so appreciative of life. And like, I remember at the very end on Sunday, it's kind of winding down. You're long gone. You're on the plane flying home. This is Sunday afternoon.
I was in the airport lounge is where I was.
Yeah. And so his daughter was riding the skate park outside, the concrete park. And Troy was filming. By the way, Troy filmed some really amazing edits there too, some crazy stuff. Like, he's really riding well. And he basically was talking to his daughter, and the way that he spoke to his daughter was like, come on, let's do just one more time. And like, was really, I could just see, if you have Troy as a father,
as your father,
the level of encouragement without over gripping your hand in any way, shape, or form. I mean, he's truly, genuinely speaking to his daughter, like, come on. And of course she did. And she rolled in and she did another line. He filmed the whole thing on his little GoPro. And it speaks highly of his character,
yes, of
who he is. And you'll see more of that at the Battle of the Rockies, because, you know, he'll be there and probably with his daughters, I'm imagining. But he's always just such an awesome guy. Okay, so now tell us the Terry and Troy story.
So I will leave out some of the details until later. Troy, so the first tour Terry went on was a school bus tour. And it was, so James McGraw was in the bus and Duncan Gore was riding shotgun and Troy was driving. And they were driving through the mountains with a bunch of like switchback turns. And the bus didn't have all of its brakes. The right hand front wheel, like they had to pry apart the caliper so that it wouldn't keep, rubbing. But as a result, there were no brakes. Terry wakes up because
wait, so who's in the bus now? I thought so Terry's in the bus?
Terry was asleep in the bus, James McGraw, Duncan Gore, and driving the bus was Troy.
Okay.
Terry wakes up and Terry's like 16, 15, something like that.
I was gonna say, he was young, right?
He was young and he was freakishly good, and this was his first tour. He wakes up and Duncan and Troy have a boombox cranked playing Whoop There It Is, and they're driving the bus kind of fast on these hairpin turns, and Terry looks at James terrified and goes, should they be driving like that? And James goes, I'm not going to tell Troy to stop. And Terry remained terrified because they were up in a mountain
and remained silent.
Chaos.
He didn't say anything to Troy. And that's
his first tour.
It's a similar like demeanor and nature that Pete Augustine has always had. But when you meet these guys, and really, they're the coolest guys ever, and they're totally approachable. But people, their persona and their attitude is scary as hell.
It's pretty crazy. So I was watching something today, and it had to do with like, this is what it was. there's all of these pain relieving gizmo things, and they run ads for them on Instagram. And there was one with a skater, and he's like, wrecking, crashing is just part of the game.
Wait, just so you know, I just don't have any of those on my, because I don't whine about my, injuries. So if you're posting stuff a lot about your injuries and whining about and trying to recover, that's why you're going to get those. I don't get those at all. It's not on my screen.
Maybe they're listening to me talk about my aches and pains.
Yeah. Okay. So
could be.
So
anyway, yeah. And Jerry Seinfeld even did a bit where, somebody asked him about what are kids these days and are they prepared for the world? And Jerry said, I like the skateboard kids because they're always crashing, they're getting right back up, and that's what you need to be able to do. And so when you encounter one of those people for the first time in your life, they really are a different breed, because they'll, first off, they take hits. Second, if there's ever a fight in a bar, you should get behind or with those dudes. And third, taking and recovering from physical crashes, there are other things in their life that they deal with. So they actually have, in many cases, like very extreme, otherwise debilitating circumstances that they just keep taking the hit and getting back up. So they're extraordinary people.
Yeah. And I think
they're very uncommon. But
if
they
we
have
ask
all
Troy
sorts
questions about his life, we are going to be in for a whole earful. I mean, he will go on and on about craziness. And we could even do that maybe when we're in the Springs together at Battle in the Rockies, because that might be a good setting to have him on. Anyhow, and then Terry, so you just want to have Terry on so we can. Oh, Terry will be there too.
Terry will be there too.
Yeah.
So I want to tell another.
Okay, I was just going to say, it's always a challenge when we're at an event and then we try to do factor freestyle, because it's almost like it's tricky because it's a conflict of my interest. I want to go ride or I want to go hang out, but then I want to do the show and like torn. Okay, what's your other story?
Well, this was not from the reunion, so maybe we should pivot and talk about from the what happened with the reunion.
Yeah, because we're almost in an hour, so we should go another little bit. Okay, so what else? Tell me about so I've been to everyone, so I've seen these receptions, and I just have to say they all are amazing, and they get kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of cool to have these people be recognized and get these awards, and watch the video. Like in this case, it was Bob's, a lot of some old footage. I've seen most of the footage, but some of the stuff was definitely first time released. But I just wanted to hear your take on that. Like for me, it never gets old. Like I could sit there and just hear these people talk about the value of the community, and that this is continuing to go on thanks to Xavier and Jumpova, that this is not going away anytime soon. But talk a little bit about your feeling with the reception, apart from the raffle. I don't really need you to get into the raffle, but
I left my raffle tickets.
Oh yeah.
Austin Coleman won the raffle and then was like, hey, I'm going to give my stuff away. Right. And I was like, that's ABD, bro. I gave all my stuff away. I must have won. I'm going to say that I won all 6 of those raffle tickets. Anyway, okay, so what was it like? Everybody's got their crew, and their crew, there's some dudes in your crew who've been around. They've been in your crew for decades. And when you get a chance to get back together with some of those dudes, you can tell some new stories, but also kind of reflect at what it's like to have a thing in your life, like riding, that spans decades. Yeah. And when you span decades, you span different states of your physical states. You also span lots of different circumstances. but that's been the one constant. And so it's really cool to see that whole thread. A lot of the dudes who were there, I had met either on the interwebs or on this show,
Right.
because I make the jokes on Instagram, and some of those dudes laugh
Chime
at
in.
those. And
Yeah, right.
yeah, and so when I first met those dudes, I would say they weren't in my crew, and that we didn't ride, because I would see them at shows or I'd see them in magazines. But what was super cool was that we have all been doing this thing for decades, and some of them kind of seemed like those distant cousins that you heard about, but you maybe met once. You didn't really have a relationship other than being in related. It kind of felt like that. And so telling the stories, so there were a couple, they had a couple of women who had organized, they were racers, they had their own injuries and other, I would say, setbacks that they came back from. I think one of them actually had to learn to walk again, and then crashed again and had to learn to walk again. So it was really cool to hear those stories and to be in that room as people were, applauding. And then the part about like actually watching Steve Swope be that uncomfortable getting recognition in its own right was very interesting. I would not have expected it, but it was kind of fun to watch.
And what a great job, like, because he could have just been gracious and said a few words, but he got into it a bit. And I thought that was great. And I think the other thing, because like I said, I've seen all of these, and there's so many bits of information that you find out about people that you don't know, that's not necessarily posted. I mean, I guess you could do some digging maybe, but it's not just readily available. So that,
right,
on top of that layer that you talked about of many decades of sharing this aspect of their lives together, kind of builds that bond, so you can kind of feel that in the room, just that presence. And I really wanted to, when Bob was up there, I wanted to yell something out, but you just stopped me, because I had do you remember what I was going to yell out?
I don't recall exactly what were you going to call? Say it.
I think I was just going to say, is he an overgripper? I think I was going to call him out on the overgripper.
Go around for Q&A. Pass the mic for Q&A.
So the raffle was amazing too. Like all the stuff that they had so much stuff. It just kept going on. Remember, we're like, okay, we're going to be here all night. So I think we can come up. See, they're always open to ideas. So we can come up with another way. Because let's face it, the raffle, you call it the number.
So here's the raffle idea. Okay. Everybody who gets a raffle ticket, writes their phone number on the raffle ticket.
Okay.
And the person reading off the raffle tickets
just
texts them. And so you don't have to go top down. Well, hold on a second. The problem wasn't reading the number. The problem was if anyone had the number. Okay, so that won't work.
And then calling out more. So I mean, you always have to say present to win, but because everyone that showed up gets a raffle ticket. So what I'm thinking is that there has to be something. It has to be the Willy Wonka story. It has to be you open up the chocolate bar and you get the golden ticket. You don't just give out I did it myself. I'm not criticizing them in any way, because everyone that signed up gets a free raffle ticket. Then you can buy more if you want to, right? But the thing when someone is just given something, so I want everyone that's at the raffle, and I've been to raffles that's the case, where everyone's there, they call in a number, and then like second person gets, comes up and gets their prize. But I think so something about the emphasis of the importance of this ticket. But I'm also thinking about, what about a whole different way, and maybe we just do this for our jam, of how to give product out at random. Because that's really what it is. If I would have got something, I would have just given it to some younger rider. You know, I don't really need a full face helmet or a pair of Ebbies.
We could give away sprockets during a sticker toss.
Tossing sprockets out.
Well, yeah. Start with stickers and then chuck some sprockets in.
That's a good point. So that's the extreme, right? It's either, do we do a sticker toss, a raffle toss, or a raffle where we just call it the numbers? There's got to be something in between that would be, you know, just a new fun way of doing it. I haven't thought of it yet, but there's got to be something.
There's got to be something, some way to randomize. Yes, indeed. Have like a puzzle that people solve.
I got it. So you have all these people, they have these tickets, right? And half the people are off partying or in their hotel, you know, they're not even at the event. So you have to just concentrate on the people that are there. So somehow, I kind of like the idea of using the phone, because everyone has their phone.
Right.
I haven't figured out the logistics of how to actually find the winners, but the idea is that there's actually 2 winners, and they go up and they have to answer a factor freestyle question, or they have to go up and they have to do something in order to win it. So there's a little bit. So
there's 2 layers. It's like The Price is Right. You get called randomly from the audience.
Exactly.
You get to the front, and then you have some other thing, and then you get the Plinko, and then the Showcase Showdown. Like, there's layers,
right,
that you go
That's
through.
perfect. And so then you have, you know, the bigger prizes. In this case, was Etnies and a full face helmet. I mean, it's a pretty good prize to walk.
That was a nice
brand
helmet.
new share, you know, brand new pair of shoes and a helmet. So yeah, okay. So there's layers. So everybody in the room is already been called out to because that's the layer that has to start, don't you think?
They have to turn in their raffle tickets with their numbers on it or names on it ahead of, like, when they walk into the room. And that will eliminate you have to be present to win, because they will be able to pull a ticket with a name on it out of a raffle. And by virtue of the ticket with the name on it being in the hat, the person is present unless they leave, in which case they will be shamed.
That's a good way. But the other way I thought about it is this: if everybody just had an app, you know, we had an app and everyone put their phone, you know, signed up for this app, but then they have to be there. No, I think the ticket, you basically take your ticket and you put it in there, and that's what you draw from. And you draw 3, and they come up and they're like, okay, now you have to ask a question. Then you ask the question, and then right?
They have to buzz in. Well, not buzz in.
They have to. Right. I don't know. They have to do something.
Maybe it's a buzz in.
Let's just raise their hand. Okay.
Well,
so anything else about the reception or the bar scene, or?
Well, I will say it was very cool that Ruben and Robert were there. So as I was walking my bike down, and I saw them just as they were checking in. That was the first time I had met Robert face to face, which was actually kind of funny.
And what about Ruben?
Ruben, I had met him several times. We would hang out at Voodoo Jam. Okay. So he's my homie for sure. And so he was showing me at the reception, he was showing me pictures of this time he ate shit riding home at night.
Ruben was.
And so then we called Terry and Scott, because we were like, you got to have another Voodoo Jam. They didn't pick up, and so we recorded a video hyping these guys to do another voodoo jam, and then just texted it over to him. So it was super cool to hang out with Ruben.
When we
have so much fun.
We still have to do that. We have to have those two on because we have to do the dinner table.
The dinner table.
Because he called him out. Robert, what was it again?
Robert told his parents that Ruben was doing his tricks and going before him because he was in a younger class doing what James McGraw did to RL with the bar.
Right.
Oh, I'll show. Oh, hold on a second. Speaking of Robert, one of my favorite photos from that weekend was we get into the reception and Coda, James' son, was there and starts looking at that wall.
Hey, speaking of, who else was there? Was Cole's father was there. Cole Volker's father was there. Did you know that?
Cole Volker's father was, in fact, there. So I actually heard okay. So we encourage Coda to climb the wall, and I tell him that I'll give him $2 for every rock that's under his foot. No. And you can see we take this picture and about 2 minutes later, well, actually, when some dude saw us taking this picture, he took that table and put it under Coda so that if he fell, it was like a safety net. Yeah.
What did you think about the flatland that was happening at the?
I was really stoked on it. It was, Todd Carter would tell me that it's alarmingly tight, the show space. I was stoked on it.
Joe, I can't believe you didn't ride there. That's like the best spot.
So
it's going to bring you into new realms. You can actually start to go and perform on stages. You can even do like runways that the models do. This is something.
My bike was packed. My bike was packed at the time.
You could have
by the time the reception
started.
You could have
rode my bike. I would have let you.
I guess I hadn't thought about
the
riding
floor.
Somebody else's
the floor
bike.
is so slick, and we didn't put anything down. I did a Miami hopper at one point, and my peg and my handlebar slid forward like about 6 to 8 inches. So I did a Miami hopper slide, forward
slider. Miami hopper land speeder.
That's the best kind of riding for me. I rode the best there all weekend. And that was after all Friday riding, doing the whole contest, riding all day Saturday night. And you know the story how that started, right? First year that they had the old school, everyone's hanging out, usual thing. They did and it was packed. It seemed like it was more crowded, but I don't know. Maybe I was just more hyped because it was the first year. And I was down staying in the hotel. My bike was in there. So I went and got my bike and they had music going, but no one was dancing, right? There's not much dancing happening. So I just started doing a Flatland show. And Steve Swoop was like, oh crap, I don't know if this is going to be good. Like he worked for Woodward at the time. He's like, oh man, I'm not sure, but he doesn't want to stop it because it was just a lot of fun. It was just me.
Because
because
it's you. He couldn't stop it.
Because it was so much fun, obviously, not because it's not saying because of me. You always put me on the spot.
I do. I love to watch you squirm.
Yeah, exactly. No, because I was just doing a show and he's like, okay, the show must go on kind of thing. He was a show writer as much as everything else. So then the next day, apparently the guy that's Steve's boss came up to him and said, man, that was amazing. And Steve's like, what? Oh, that show last night in the bar. And Steve was like, and then ever since then, we've done a variation of it. And at times I would try to organize stuff and I'd be walking around acting all stressed out like you saw on Saturday. And
we should get you a clipboard. We should get you a clipboard so you can walk around with a clipboard.
And a megaphone? No, not a megaphone. But I need
with
people that,
with an earpiece and a little curly
but I
thing
need
down.
people to help, because what happens is I have this idea and then I need other people to execute it. And another little side note is that interesting that you went up to Pete and asked Pete about how you can go about, doing a proper overgrip to Bob. And I also asked him, I said, hey, Pete, I have a couple stories with this because it's just hilarious how it turned out. Hey, Pete, would you be willing to lift me up while I'm doing a gumby so that someone can run underneath and will be a over-under gumby? And he's like, sure. That's all he said. Sure. It's just so like, yeah. Tell me when.
The lifted
like,
gumby was pretty great.
Well, so let me tell you about how that started. I was just going to finish about the Flatland. In that area, you need to ride next year. I don't care if you just do a foot jam. You just have to do something just to feel it. What I liked about this time is that I didn't try to organize anything. There wasn't a lot of riders. Sometimes there'd be 8 riders. So imagine that. There's 8 riders and we're all in that space. This time there was only 4 or 5 at some point. So it was a lot easier to find the space. And yeah, I felt like I wrote the best all weekend there. So I don't know how to do that, because a lot of times people just want to go and ride, and I don't want to tell them, well, you got to be on the A team. I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I don't like making that call. Like, oh yeah, you can ride, but you can't. Like, how do you make that call, Joe? Is it a lottery? It's a lottery. There's 5 spots. No? How do we do it?
I think it has to be
organic.
It has to be like curated. So first off, you're gonna have never miss your shots.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who are going to be comfortable with everybody's eyes on them.
And they're hot shots, like me.
Yes. Oh, I'm flipping through. There was something else that happened this weekend that I was very proud of.
Oh my gosh, this was so good. When you first sent it to me, I didn't catch it. You need to make it more obvious. See, I think you could have put a little gap between the two where you tore.
Yeah.
So
I tried it down
so
here.
people know that are watching it. What actually happened? So you get there and you go into check-in and
So,
there's a table.
Yeah, in check-in. And I was one of probably the 10th person to check in. And so after check-in, there's a table with all of these keys, and they're labeled. So you see yellow's key there. And so I saw R.L. Osborne's key. And I was like, everybody's going to watch this. What can I do to this thing? And then I looked over and I saw some scissors, and I was like, I am going to cut his post-it note and I'm going to reassemble it. And if now I sent that to a number of people, but it was over subtle. And
it was over subtle. Yeah, you oversold it.
What I had to do. So actually, when Pete and I, rehearsed the overgripping, I showed him the picture and he's looking at it and he's like, all right, yeah, who is that? R.L. Osborne. Oh, they misspelled his name. And I was like, yeah, but I cut his label and reassembled it. And he gives this look like when it dawns on him what the hell was going on.
I know that look. Yeah.
So I was very happy.
You could have wrote on there. You could have wrote like reissued or something. And anyhow, okay. So going back to where we were at, because we're on a track.
We're going back to figuring out how we're going to get the short list of riders for the show is going to be.
It's like
crazy.
6 tops in that tight area.
Yes.
And so my thing is, in the past, what I've done is like, we're going to do a show and then we're going to have the James McGraw marathon, because that's what happens. Like, some riders will just want to ride all night long, and that's fine. But I want to do like, it's a show, like, okay, we make the announcement and it's showtime. And then people that are, people that come to Woodward that don't get a chance to see these riders ride in this kind of arena, in a bar, they want to see the show. And so there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? So in that, so you can ride anytime, but the people that are actually performing, okay, 5 people, there's 15 riders. How do we decide?
Well, there is a caste system.
That's hard, man.
I know.
So like Fiola has
Well,
ridden...
I shouldn't say there should be enforced a caste system. What I should say is you are already working within a caste system. Not that you've dictated it, but it exists in certain people's minds.
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
that's
okay,
going to be one
that.
layer.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So then, actually, I take that back. So a caste system is part of any jam circle, and we've lived with it forever. You should eliminate based on oversnaking.
No, that's too much to manage, though. I'm not going to manage that. I got to be.
Wait a second. You're talking about actually an executable set of rules?
Yeah, that's something that we can actually apply.
Yeah,
Joe.
don't. No way. It's impossible.
So
it's not possible.
It just happened this last time perfectly because there wasn't as many people that were there with their bikes. Like some people packed their bikes up already because they were going on a plane in the morning.
Some people did. And did you make note when I scurried across the room and went back to the bunk bed?
Yeah, I don't remember you saying goodbye.
I did. I ghosted.
Yeah.
If I were to say goodbye, it would have taken a half an hour and I would have been talked out of saying goodbye.
Didn't you leave in the middle of me doing that cherry bomb? I swear, I was up there doing cherry bomb, no-handed. I dropped upside down, and then Joe's gone. He was there just a second ago.
I had to plan. I figured Ruben would just fist bump or would just acknowledge. James would pressure me, but I had to decide who would give me more pressure to not leave, and I concluded it was probably you. And so I waited until you were fully, when your attention was fully honed on riding, and that's when I made my getaway.
I just remember another funny story. When I did that first show, I hadn't done a gumby in years, literally years, and everyone's like, "Gumby." Yeah, I stopped doing gumby because for me, I would only do a gumby. So that was 2009, and I was riding a Big Daddy. It's before I got these reissue Haros, and I had shorter cranks, and I went to go. So they're saying gumby, do a gumby, and I don't even know the last time I had done one, and I went to set it up, and the bike was it wasn't vertical enough. It was so leaned over. Yeah. So some kid, I think it was Cole, took a scooter and laid his scooter down on his edge, and I put my pedals on the scooter, and I did a gumby scooter. Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
So now let me just tell you the story of how the gumby, I called it the gumby limbo. So as you know, my mom was there, so we drove up from San Diego. It was great time to spend that much time with my mom, and then she gets into this. She loves telling stories. I don't know how much she was able to spend time with you, but she talks to everybody and tells all kinds of crazy stories. Yeah. And often I'll come up and people were like, "Oh gosh, you got another story," and like as if I was being embarrassed or something. And I'm like, I've heard them all, and yeah, it's great that she's sharing it with everybody. So we're sitting at breakfast Saturday morning, and I'm feeling like, okay, I gotta think of something for this jam, right? Something to kick it off. And then I literally said, I got it. I want to do a gumby because it's never been done before, and to have riders pick me up. And then I thought, wow, I should pick certain riders that were very significant in my career. So Pete was like the first rider from way back when we went to high school. Bob was my first sponsor, obviously. Fred is my current biggest sponsor. And then Xavier's been like my manager. Those are the 4 that I picked. So this is what's so funny though. When my mom gets going, it's like you and I, there's like this chemistry going, like, and we're just like rolling off ideas. And she's like, wait. She gets all excited. She's like, wait. And I'm like sharing, I'm like, oh, I can get Bob. And I'm like really excited in the moment about coming up with this great idea. And I said, I don't want to practice this. This is not something you practice.
Lifted Gumby, one and done.
One and done, and you just do it. And if it goes wrong, yeah, I could have fallen.
Cameras are rolling.
Most likely I can just say it, and most likely they'll be able to pick me up, but I don't know. And so she's like, wait. She's like, interrupt me. I got this idea. And I'm like, okay, what is it? She's like, how about we can have Ratty Matty, because she met Ratty Matty. And do you know who that writer is?
I don't know Ratty Matty.
He's got a beard. He's from NorCal, and he does some crazy riding. Sometimes you might see him where he rides with a little G string. That's kind of some of his more extreme riding. But anyhow, he's a really great guy, and she really connected with you. We'll have Ratty Matty ride right underneath you, right when they lift you up. And I'm like, Mom, oh my gosh, Mom, what? Why? Oh gosh. And I'm like, I can't say no to that. There's no way I could have nixed that idea, because it was such a good idea. But Joe, it took it to the next level of potentially something going wrong, like really wrong.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, you have the video. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at Bob. Bob's got the best position. Bob said to me on Sunday, he's like, yeah, 40 years of my reputation went out the door with that one act. But yeah, so when my mom came up with that idea, I'm like, okay, great. So then I get there, and my first test, we finished breakfast, and I get there and I said, Bob is not happy with that. He's really bummed that I didn't assign them anywhere. I just said, you two go on the front, you two go on the back. That's all I said. So here's the funny thing. When I get there and I see Bob and Xavier, and they're busy, they're getting stuff, it's all check-in, and Bob's like trying to unload stuff. And I'm like, hey, Bob, and you're trying to time everything right, because other people are saying hi, and my mom is saying hi, and then but I have this agenda. I mean, I'm coming in with a hot and heavy agenda that I need to get, because if Bob's not going to do it, I got to find who's my next, backup. So I said, Bob, I got a favor. And Xavier, actually, I got to ask you too. And Bob, first thing, he's like, I'm not judging. I'm like, no, you don't have to judge. You don't have to judge. I want to do a Gumby. What did I call it? A Gumby gig. I have these Gumby gigs that I'm starting. He's like, a Gumby gig? Yeah. All I need you to do is I'm going to go into a Gumby, and I just need you to lift me up in the air, and then the guy's going to ride underneath me. And
do you say, and do you pitch it with like, oh, I just do this?
Yeah,
like exactly. you're an under pitcher.
I'm
to
an
get
under
people
pitcher. Dude,
then once they're in, they realize that's what happened with Rick Thorne. You're an under pitcher. And
so I get Xavier, and Xavier's like, okay, and they agree to it, and I'm going to hold them to it. Like, because then later I was like, okay. So then I said to my mom, I'm like, okay, so when I go out there riding, Dan Hubbard's going to do a little announcing. And then I want my mom to go find those people and pull them around and start talking to them as if she's planning it out. Like she's saying, hey, let's go pick him up while he's doing a Gumby. And so I don't know if you have footage of that.
I might, but let me make sure that I know what to look for. I'm looking for a trick that you came up with and practiced, and then sent your mother in to orchestrate 10 minutes before doing it. Is that what I?
Yes. Are you looking at a pattern here? Are you trying to determine some kind of pattern?
Does it sound familiar?
We have to talk to my mom about that. I'm kind of having a little bit of recollection that. So 10 minutes before the jam, my mom goes out.
The lifted Gumby, your mother
finds Bob Haro,
spontaneously requests
finds Bob,
people to go do this
finds
stuff.
Pete, finds Xavier, and finds Fred. And you'll see maybe someone has some footage. I might even have it where she's talking on the sidelines, and then they come over and lift me up and ready me.
Next level lifted Gumby.
So that was fun. So I think, and then the only other thing that I really want to share is just that I've been known now to, well, like you said, I under pitch, but not only do I under pitch, but I also, I over picture. So my over picturing has gotten a little, I don't know if you saw much, but I did a lot of over picturing in York Jam for sure, where someone would say, hey, can I get a picture with you? And I said, sure, where's your bike? And then I get them to do some crazy trick with me on the bike or some kind of double thing. So yes, people are starting to resist, and I don't want them to resist asking me for a picture. I just want them to have a memorable picture, not just another shot of us mouth posing or doing the thumbs up or yeah, shaka bra. Yeah, how many pictures in like, so instead we're gonna, and there's some pretty good ones. Pull up my Instagram because I want you to share a couple.
All of them are bespoke.
Are what?
Bespoke, custom.
Yeah, they're all custom. Some I did little videos.
Okay, I'm loading your Instagram.
So over picturing is going to become a thing, and I think it's the next trend. So scroll down a little bit. So where there's a couple really great ones that I want to.
So this is from Battle in the Rockies. Oh, I got it. Yeah, this goes back. Dax's face. Yeah, this one is really cool.
Yeah, that one's great.
You know, it was cool. So there was, Bree was, we were talking, like she pulled some new trick at York Jam, and she was talking about, we were talking either about like certain unideal conditions or whatnot, and she points down to her prosthetic leg and she goes, and I got this, and then moves on. And I was like,
and not only that, her whole back, her whole back is totally like, she can only,
really?
Like, yeah, her back is totally jacked up because I was helping her to do, I think, the ride out part. I don't know if you do much of that. You might not cover the ride out when you ride so much, but many people ride out of the tricks. And even Ephraim will ask you sometimes, if he sees a clip, he'll say, yeah, show me the ride out. But
show me the ride out.
Subject. That's another subject. So I was showing her the ride out, and she's like, yeah, and I've got, my back is, I can only twist it so much. So she's definitely, it's great because she's so inspirational, and I just love this shot because she's just got this thing. Now look at the one with Scott Powell.
Yellow. Oh, it's
Scott Powell.
Scott Powell is the stare down.
Well, you're missing it. Think of the R.L. Osborne. So there's something. What did I write? The double ant rider.
Oh my gosh.
I can't believe you missed that. See?
Oh my gosh. You did a no-handed ant rider to Scott's Rego ant rider.
This is on his axle. I did it on his axle. I shrunk myself down to a little ant.
Holy smokes.
So you see what I mean?
Good. Look at this. He has green tape.
So we tried it like this, Joe. We tried it where I was just going to have my hand out, and he was just going to be holding his hand, and I was going to be in his hand. But that didn't work. So then, because every time he hopped, he would move. Isn't that great? So I don't know how many people even got that. They just probably scroll through it, and but it's there. And so the next one is, you were going to say yellow. So yellow, this is like towards the end of the day. I literally haven't packed my bike. My flight's in like 20 minutes. I got to get out of there. Like I'm totally running behind. And I'm like, Yellow, let's take a picture before we go. He's like, sure. And then I said, okay, can you do a Van der Rohe off the table there? And he's like, I'm not really sure. And I showed him how to do it. And then right as he gets on his back, I climb up. I literally step on the table. I step on the handlebar. I step on the frame. And he's like, holy crap, hold on, let me, he's like, I got to move my shirt. I got to,
he's like, hold on.
Yeah. And he's like, ugh. So that was another classic one. And then I think the last one that you can show is just the whole one with Rick. A lot of these guys too were just people on the sidelines that were just, so Rick Thorne will be the one from more recent.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Wait, no, there's another one. Okay, we'll do this one. So this is the one right below it. Go right below
yeah, this one.
That one is great. So look at Ruben. Ruben so we were doing this trick.
Yeah, I actually have the shot. I have the shot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, and then the last one I just want to share is the one with Thorne, because Thorne was okay, so here's the story with Thorne. He's talking with Fiola and a bunch of people inside the hangar, and Rick showed up. Rick showed up Sunday because he had a football game to go to. And
wait, are those socks? Those are not socks.
Those are socks, I think.
No, are they? I'm looking for something that's sockish. Okay, anyway, he's not that. Okay, go.
Yeah, so I go up and I'm waiting for the timing, I just come in with a big time agenda, which is I got to get Rick out here and I got to get him to do a gumby on my bike. That's like what I'm thinking, right? But I deliver it in a much more passive way, where I say, I wait.
You get him to the easy yeses first.
Yeah. It's like that sales tactic. You want to do the soft sell, and you want the questions that you're asking are yeses. Like, do you want it to ship out? I don't know. You want the order to ship out COD, or do you want to pay cash? I don't know. That's not a good example. But so
it's called softening the target, by the way.
Yeah. So I say to Rick, hey Rick, can we get a photo? And he's like, sure. And I said,
a what? What did
photo.
you say?
I said photo. Because it's not like picture.
Have you ever heard James McGraw say theater? Without failure, he will say theater.
Theater.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
So photo.
Anyway, you were.
So then he says, sure. And he's got all his gear and his bike, and he's going to go ride the half. That's where he's going. He's trying to go practice his 540 alley oops.
540 alley oops.
Yeah. So he goes over, and I said, yeah, come on, let's go outside. And he's like, sure. And then I proceed to just go right into this. I'm like, I do a gumby. I go, hey, can you stand on my pedal? I'm doing a gumby. And that's that picture. Okay. So now he's totally into it. The people are taking the pictures and he's looking at them. He's like, oh, wait, no, do it again, because you kind of cut my arm off a little bit, or I wasn't. He was so into it.
He's also photo directing. Okay, perfect.
He's totally into it. And then show that final one, which is he was very proud of, because I tell you, Joe, getting him into the gumby at first, he was like, I don't know how I used to do this. But the one where we're doing the double gumby, which I'd never done before.
Which is
not that
insane.
Variation.
And he was posting on his page the actual.
Yeah, he posted a picture
doing a gumby.
Yeah, from back in '86 or something. Yeah. So
yeah, that's dope.
I guess that's what I'm just gonna become, the over picture. Wait, what did I call it? I'm over picturing.
Over poser? No, over photo. Over picture. Photo. Yeah.
All right, so we're probably about done. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up. So what I'm going to do is just take this and I'm going to post it, and we're going to do, it'll be up tonight. And everybody watching, thank you for continuing to get stoked on factOrFreestyle and supporting Flatland Fuel. By the way, I got to just about this. This is not related to OSR, but JF came through, and he had his tour, and he asked me if I could be one of the stops and actually be on the flyer. And because Pat sponsors the show, I knew that I couldn't have the Terradome associated with there was just a sponsor conflict there. And so what I chose to do was pitch Pat that he should send me he should send me banners for when JF gets here. And you know, I had JF helping me hang one of the Flatland Fuel banners, and I got that I got footage of that. But when I went in, so Todd showed up, much like what you have been doing. So I came in to do the show with Rick. Todd had to leave. JF took down the 8-foot Flatland Fuel banner, got a clip, unbeknownst to me, unbeknownst to me, gets his clip, rehangs the banner, and when I get done with the show, I go back in to ride, and we have another hour or two session. I didn't know this until a day after he had left. When I saw the footage, Todd was like, "Is there something missing from this footage?" And I looked, and sure enough, he took a shot, and I was like, "Todd, did you remember doing this?" He's like, "No." So there was like maybe 30 minutes between the time Todd left and I got back in. The JF removed the banner, got his shot, put it on his page.
What's the conflict? Are you still going to be able to keep the sponsorship? Because I'm sure Pat's going to be livid.
Pat. So I told Pat this story. I sent the footage to, I sent JF's footage, and I'm like, you saw that when JF got there, I took the picture in front of the 8-foot Flatland Fuel banner. He's like, yeah. I'm like, JF waited till I was inside doing the show. Todd left. He took the banner down, got the shot, and put the banner back up, and I was none the wiser. And I was like, and I respect him for doing that. And Pat's like, I respect him for doing that too.
What's the conflict? Does he have a connection with some kind of mail order?
JF got his tour sponsored in part by another mail order,
which will not be mentioned on this show.
Which cannot be mentioned on the show. And so I was vehemently, I was like, come on out here for like the pre-jam. But Pat gives me emotional support. He gives me encouragement. He says very nice things about me. Pat says such nice things about me. I am not comfortable sharing those things because they're so glowing. So sentimental. So sentimental. He cares about me at a very deep level and will say very encouraging, thoughtful, kind things to me about my riding, about my antics. And so, yeah. And I realized that, you know, he's feeding a family with you know, brake cables and oil slick spokes. And so I think that's very important.
Speaking of brakes, I was waiting for that because I had that agenda in my mind again as I was listening to your story. We have another new sponsor, which I mentioned on the previous show, which won't be released until after this. So let's welcome Cool Stop to Factor
Cool
Freestyle.
Stop. That's right. Cool Stop.
So please find a logo and put it on there. And then I think what we'll do is whoever listens to this show and messages me through either, I think it should be Instagram, because I don't look at all the comments on the YouTube channel. Do you?
I listen to I listen to the comments, or I
Okay,
read
they
comments.
have-
Yes,
have to send-
respond. I respond to every comment.
Okay,
So
they have
Cool
to send
Stop.
me. Yeah, so Cool Stop sent me a whole slew of stuff. So the first person that listens to the show that sends me the following number, I'm going to take it off this receipt.
Okay,
This is
zoom in.
this is the number. This is from our dinner last night. Okay. Can you see the number? Wait, it's the
the
I'll
price or
underline
the
this.
authorization number. All right.
Yeah, the authorization number. We're not going to say it on
Right.
air. They're going to have to read this. Can you
All right,
read it?
pause right there. It's a little bit out of focus.
Hold on. Why can't I get it focused?
Oh my God. Just move it back a little bit.
I can't tell if it's focused or not. Hold on. Tell me. I'm just going to write this number down.
Oh, this is absolutely ridiculous. What?
Thank you, Cool Stop, for putting.
Well, they can pause the video.
No, but really, they have to be able to read it. I'm gonna write it.
Let me see if I can spotlight you.
Ada?
Yeah, write it down.
Write it
Okay,
down?
so what they have to do, write it down in big numbers or text it to me and I can put it very big on the screen. So they have to DM you through your Dave Nourie Instagram, and they need to send you this special code. And in response to that special code, what will you do?
I will mail them a care package of Cool Stop. Which I'm not saying what it's going to be. It might be, it's going to be some great Cool Stop products. And they just need to, include their address, mailing address.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Are you sure?
Cool.
I really want them to read it off the receipt, because then that would be totally legit.
Well, then do that.
So they're just going to have to try. Let's try one more time to see if you can get at least. Where's my? Hold on. I'm on my phone because I lost the internet today. Our internet was out. Okay, here we go.
You lost the internet?
Yes.
I'd like to tell you something.
Okay.
I didn't watch a movie on my mom's house. All the internet was off.
I know our internet was off too, Ada. Okay, can you see it, Joe? Why doesn't this work?
Well, you gotta kind of admit that it's pretty clandestine and janky and.
Wait, it's gonna work.
All right.
There's gonna. Can you see it? There's gonna be a lot of numbers, because these have several numbers that are the same. That could, it's gonna be really.
Well, people will be DMing you, and you'll have to say close, not quite. Like you'll.
How does that look right there? Come on. Hold on.
Oh, it looks pretty brutal, actually.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just love using technology in totally the wrong way, like as asinine as possible. So here we go. Here's what we're gonna do. It's got my name and it has my Visa number on it.
No, it doesn't have your Visa number on it.
I mean, the last four of my Visa number.
No, it has the safe code.
I don't care. Whatever. That's fine. All right.
Well,
So here we go.
let's keep people engaged to get some.
No, here we're gonna
get some free brake pads.
We're gonna try this. So now I'm taking
this is an equally janky idea. Why don't you text that to me right now?
no, I want to.
Oh, you want to make it more difficult?
Yeah, people can't just. It's the same thing with the lottery ticket. You know, you can't just give it away too easily.
Yeah, you know, solve for being out of focus. If you really want these brake pads from Dave Nourie, which is, it is pretty cool, you know.
I mean, come on, everyone needs good brake pads. Okay, here we go.
Everyone needs cool brake. Oh, that's perfect. Perfect.
Okay, that's the code.
Yeah.
All right. You might want to edit some of that out. That took a long time, but it was still.
I'm not going to edit any of this out. We're going to do it like, what was that? Bill, what's his face? When he was like, F it, we're going to do it live.
Or anything. No internet. I know. Ada was telling me that she didn't have internet either. The whole city was out. Okay.
Wow.
So what were you saying? I'm sorry. That it reminds you of Bill. What?
Whoever that Bill guy who was on Inside Edition, who went to Fox News, Bill Riley.
Oh,
There's
Bill
that clip of him throwing a temper tantrum and he's like, F it, we'll do it live. So we're not going to edit this at all.
Okay. I want it to be authentic. They have to, you know, these are random numbers. And all they have to do is text me those numbers, 6 numbers, and they get a care package from factOrFreestyle.
factOrFreestyle.
We need to make stickers though. We have to get James McGraw to make stickers for us. Because we can make our own. Okay. You know what would make a really good sticker, actually? So I like the logo that we have now. I think a great sticker would be if you were to put on a bodysuit and do a gumby and take a shot in front of a clear background that we could turn into a guy on a bike on a silhouette and a yellow background, and give the sticker the name, the Naked Gumby, and print enough of them to where we can drop them onto Bob Haro's merch table. I'll get back to you on that one. I'll get back to you. Maybe we need to, people that are watching this, put some comments in the show notes and tell us if that's a good idea.
If that's a good idea.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good of an idea that is.
Right.
I think we're going to get,
or maybe there's something else, or we're open to other ideas that people could come up with.
Yes, you in the comments section, pitch us your idea for the next great factOrFreestyle sticker.
The next or the first? We haven't had one.
Yeah, but it'll be the next one.
The next one. Okay. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right.
I think we recapped it all. It was an amazing event. If you get a chance, go to Old School next year because it's a lot of fun, and you could get cash for radness, or you could just get rad. You could meet Troy and his family. You could hang out with Cole Volker's father. He'll be there most likely. You'll get to see Wilkerson begging me to do a naked Gumby.
Naked Gumby.
There'll be so many highlights that it's even hard to cover it all.
Wait a second. These Naked Gumby shirts and Naked Gumby stickers. I think Ron could help us distribute those. Ron would be very stoked.
Oh,
this sounds like a great idea.
For Wilkerson Airlines products?
He could put them into Wilkerson Airlines products. He could include the Naked Gumby factOrFreestyle sticker into all of his shipments. This idea has legs.
Okay.
And we know that
we should do.
we should get a third opinion. We should ask Ron if this is a good idea.
Yeah, and we should also do it after we do the black fortune telling cookies.
Oh, that's right. Chocolate fortune cookies.
Right. I didn't know they were chocolate.
Yes.
I just knew they were black. But chocolate sounds good.
Burnt fortune cookies. Yes,
Charcoal.
it's true.
No, you get, yeah, it's actually good dietary, you know, help with your digestion, you know, eat a little charcoal fortune cookie. Hey. You never
Really?
had charcoal for, yeah.
I've never eaten charcoal.
Oh my gosh. I do it all the time if I have a stomach ache. I used to do it quite a bit, but then I changed my diet so I don't need to do as much. Seriously.
Are there proactive health benefits to eating charcoal?
Absolutely. Look it up. I'll go get mine right now. I bring them to every place I travel. I'll share some with you in Colorado.
Where can I buy
Hold on one second. It'll take me 1 minute. I'll get you the jar.
nutritional charcoal? Okay, seriously. I'm going to implore you guys, if please convince Dave to do the naked Gumby. He can wear a bodysuit, that's fine. But please, if you DM Dave Nourie, encourage him to do this naked Gumby because it's an extremely good idea. And Dave will always do what the crowd asks him to do. And we know this about Dave because he's very crowd oriented. And so if the crowd asks Dave to do a naked Gumby, he will do it. Okay, so I was just what activated charcoal?
Look, and this is my travel. So I travel with some. If you get like a stomach ache or you ate something wrong, yeah, this is digestive aid. Promotes absorption of intestinal gas. And what I use it for, if I start to get a cold or something, I take like 12 of these and drink a whole bunch of water and echinacea and drink tea, and sometimes I don't get sick. So the fortune cookies,
that's pretty awesome.
Charcoal. They can be
charcoal fortune cookies.
Yeah.
Well, do you chew those pills?
No, you just swallow them.
Yeah.
Oh my
okay.
God.
Well, I think it's time for us to wrap.
Yeah. Ada's showing me her costume, Halloween costume. Okay. Good job, Joe.
Awesome.
Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
See you, man.